This hour brought to you by Feldman Geospatial. They get it right from the ground up at feldmangeo.com.
Time now for KJ and Dondero with KJ Carson and Mark Dondero on WEEI. WEEI.
And streaming everywhere on the Odyssey app.
What did you gather from your conversation with him about how he's feeling about his future with the Patriots?
I think it's fair to say frustrated. I think antsy is another word that comes to mind because this is somebody who has waited for several years now to have his opportunity to get paid. We know he came into the league as an undrafted rookie. He's not making a ton of money. The first 3 years of his career, last year he makes just over $3 million. So he's enthusiastic, trendy about his new contract and where that might be coming from. And I think this is just a byproduct in some ways of how the Patriots do business. They're not going to be checking in with guys on a daily basis necessarily. And the tag window just opened today. They have 2 weeks to decide whether or not they want to use the tag. And they're not always keeping players abreast of every conversation that's happening inside the building. So I think he's frustrated. He's a little impatient because he's wondering, we haven't spoken since the end of the regular season or the end of last season. When are you going to come to me and let me know how important you think I am?
Good Sunday morning. It's KJ and Dondero on WEEI, Boston Sports Original, 617-779-7937 or the text line 37937. All right, coming this hour, the free agents, wide receivers that may come to the Patriots, plus Major League Baseball has a day. But right now, Mark, your belief in the defense, that's Phil Perry on Early Edition saying J.C. Jackson is in angst over his money. And you're in angst over the defense.
KJ, what's up, man?
Man.
Yeah, you know what? I'm in angst, sure. But I also have some strong thoughts on where I think the Patriots are going to go, what I think the Patriots are going to do, what I think the Patriots should do, and that is move on from J.C. Jackson. And this is not a hard decision for me. I don't understand why everybody is so, I don't know, hell-bent on keeping this guy. I like his game a lot. I wish they could keep him. But this team is not in a position to spend that type of money on a top cornerback when you have other needs. I don't view it. I was going back to this earlier in the week. I think that if you were the perfect team to franchise tag a cornerback, a top cornerback, or even overpay for one, like we saw the Rams do this year with Jalen Ramsey, was the 2007 Patriots when, if you recall, after 2006, Asante Samuel, free agent, you knew you had a big team coming in next year, the following year. You know, Brady was back and Moss came in and Welker, and you had good pieces on defense, and you knew you were going to be a Super Bowl contender again. They were a team that appropriately tagged a top cornerback in Asante Samuel. That was the perfect type of situation to do that. When you're this Patriots team with all these holes, obviously, you could use a top corner. He's not. J.C. Jackson is not a shutdown corner. He's a top. He's a number one corner, not a shutdown.
Is he a top 5 corner in the league?
Yes, he is.
Okay, then pay him. What's the holdup?
Because I don't think you need to do that. I think you have to focus and use those assets on other things that you need. You know, whatever money you have, and we know they don't have as much cap room this year as they did last year. You have to go get other things. Other things are more important right now than a top cornerback. It's just the way it is.
Well, not with this AFC the way it's made up. If you got to go against Joe Burrows and Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen's and Derek Carr's, you're going to need someone who can, I don't know, stop the pass. Yeah, and if he's already here, look, with J.C. Jackson being an unsigned free agent, right, there are some benefits that are inherent already. So if you put him top 5, you give him 5 years, $80 million, that makes him top 5. You give him $16 a year because if you franchise him, that number is not going to be that far off. The Patriots got a ton of cap space next year. But I think, look, show the commitment to him saying we're going to re-sign you, knowing that we have a bunch of cap space next year. Instead of franchise tagging him, he plays lights out, and now he wants number 2 money. And now you probably have to spend, $7 to $10 more million just to keep him. So do it now. Get him the deal. He wants to be here. He's not doing the wrangling of I don't want to be franchised. He's like, I want to sign here. That's the power that the Patriots have right now. They know the player wants to be here. Why play the games and just have him wait it out? Just get the deal done. 5 years, $80 million. That's going to put him top 5, and it's not going to break the bank.
If you can tell me that him re-signing here wouldn't affect you in any other way going out to get other pieces that you need, okay, then we can do that. But I'm just looking across the league and where all the best cornerbacks reside. You know, the Dolphins have two of the highest paid, two guys in the top 10 in terms of money they make.
Yes.
And where did they go this year? Nowhere. They didn't go to the playoffs. The Ravens, same thing. Two of the best cornerbacks in the league, at least in terms of what they make, and they didn't make the playoffs. Now, I know they had injuries and Jackson got hurt. The most expensive cornerback in the league is Jalen Ramsey, who did everything he possibly could to help the Rams lose the Super Bowl. I mean, every time I turned around, he was getting burned. Okay? It's just not a position.
But he helped them get there. If you have a bad game, that's the worst thing to have a bad game.
If you go really digging through the film, you could tell me or find a play where he did
but
something
they're at the Super Bowl. I mean, I see what you're saying with Miami, where you got two guys that you're spending I think a combined almost $60 million just for, $30 million for those two guys to be there, and they're going nowhere. Yes, that makes sense. But if you're in the Super Bowl, you could say that your money is kind of paid off, Mark.
Let me put it this way: no, that money did pay off. I get it, and that's a team that should be going after a guy like that because you knew they were close. I don't think the Patriots are that close. Okay, they're good. They should take a step forward, but they're not that close. And in terms of J.C. Jackson, I love his game. But I don't think that he's going to be able to find a way. I just don't want them to be in a situation where they feel like, all right, we re-signed J.C. Jackson, so that kind of covers that, and then at that point they ease up in other areas where I think they should have more urgency. I don't want them easing up and going after some weapons because they think they, solidified or once again reestablished a good presence at corner. I don't think if they do that and they go back into next year with basically what they had this year, I think we're going to be doing a lot of the same things and having a lot of the same conversations, which I don't want to have. I think they need to come at it from a different angle and then figure out corner when you get to the other side of it. I need a different problem than I had last year. I want some offensive firepower, and if they struggle a little bit in the pass game, well, if they have offensive firepower to counter that, I'll take it.
KJ and Dondero on WEEI, thank you so much for starting your Sunday morning with us. 617-779-7937 or the text line 37937. Still to come, we have an award-winning employee here on the show in Justin. Justin, how are you this morning, man?
Good. How are you guys?
Good. We're going to let you get your flowers later here on the show. We believe in,
let's go.
Yes, we believe it's like the McDowell's Employee of the Month on the wall, Akeem. But you're better than Akeem. When you think of Justin, don't think of trash, right? So back to the conversation. So you clearly think that the defense is at hand, but you have Matthew Judon. So you'd say, okay, maybe a little bit of help at linebacker. Now, do you think you should spend a lot of money on linebacker, or do you think you should look for something in the draft?
Well, I think you should go with – I think if you're going to draft at 21, assuming they don't trade down, I think you should take a defensive player just because that's where Bill Belichick has had the most success. I have more confidence in him drafting a defensive player. I'd like to see them, if they're going to invest defensively, I'd honestly rather see it on the line. I think that in the playoffs, that's more applicable. I think those are the type of players that are more capable of ruining a game in the playoffs. You usually don't see a cornerback in the AFC Championship game ruin it. It's a defensive lineman.
I love Ajabo from Michigan, and even though he's supposed to go in like the top 10, I would risk it all, as the youth say. I would trade it all. Like, I'd give up the 21st pick. I'd give up Jalen Mills. I'd give up next year's first-round pick to Houston and say, I'll take that number 3 pick, and let's swap our third-rounders this year. So that way in the third round, you could get it. There's like 10 cornerbacks. This is why I say with J.C. Jackson, make that signing because there's 10 cornerbacks that are supposed to go in the top 100. So you can get another cornerback if you need to. And if you move off of Jalen Mills, then at least you still have one stud on one side of the field. I think, what do you do with Devin McCourty in terms of, the contract voids out in like a couple of weeks. So do you look for safety in the draft? So I think there are defensive pieces that you can find in the draft more than you can find offensive pieces that are, I think you'd still have to go the free agent route. So I can understand that, but I think you have to spend somewhere. So why not spend on a top 5 cornerback than trying to take a chance and say, okay, we're not going to sign him and we're going to take a risk with someone in the draft. And we've already got a rookie quarterback that, let's say, hey, the drives are over fast, and they know that, hey, we want to get that rookie back on the field quick. These defenses, let's throw the ball. At least you can deter that by having a very strong cornerback And despite everything that's going on with the Patriots defense over the last couple of years, and it's gotten better this past year, but even in that year where they were 7-9, they were still only giving up like 3 yards on third down. So they were still effective against the pass. So you'd still want to have something in place that says we're still effective against the pass as we work our way through effectively addressing the run.
Look, they need to be good on and I see what you're saying about there's a lot of teams in the AFC that can throw it, so you need people out there that can defend it. Yeah. But I just don't think that's going to be the approach that's going to work. Okay, I think they tried that this year. You have to come at it and establish an offensive identity. I can't believe I'm saying it, but I am. This team needs to establish an offensive identity, and the only way to do that is through some weapons and Mac Jones's development, and on top of that, you have, we all like to say it, and I appreciate the rhyme, the brain drain from the coaching staff offensively. So I also think you're not going to have as quality of resources at your disposal offensively. So I need Mac Jones essentially to take on more of the onus, and I think he'd be more capable of doing that if you get more offensive help. I just don't want them to rely on I'm afraid, okay, if they go and re-sign J.C. Jackson, they're going to try. I can't believe I'm saying this, but they're going to have a more defensive identity. And I think this year they need to try to find a way to become a more offensive identity and become a more offensively minded team so Mac Jones can develop, so they can establish that they are able to move the ball in a more efficient way, in a more explosive way. And then you kind of circle back and go after some defensive help and defensive stability after you address the offense.
Well, here's Chris Broussard talking about, yes, Joe Judge, working with Mac Jones this coming season.
I'm going to give you 4 words that should make you feel better, Wilds. In Bill, we trust. All right, that's all you can do is trust in Bill Belichick. Do you really think Belichick would put the future of his franchise quarterback in the hands of a clown? I mean, really. And I'm being serious, and I know it was horrific what Joe Judge did in New York. His tenure was terrible. But there are a lot of head coach or a lot of guys who weren't great head coaches. They weren't head coach material, but they're really good position coaches.
Okay, that's fair. But do you really feel good that Joe Judge would be the leader of the offense with the second-year guy who you're completely just hoping there's not even an ounce of regression?
Well, to say it succinctly, I am not an in Bill we trust guy. I don't trust him in every aspect of what he's doing coaching.
Not in the offense. Not in the offense. You'd say, in Bill we'll watch.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
that might be better.
Yeah.
Right.
I like to agree with what Chris Broussard just said there. And to an extent, I guess I do. But I'm just saying this blanket in Bill we trust statement, I'm not that guy. Like, I do think that he has weaknesses and I can question things, especially now that Tom Brady is gone. There's a void there. I'm just telling you, I don't think if this team tries to approximate what they did last year, they're going to have similar results. They need to find a way to flip it and make their weakness their strength and then go back after they've changed the offense and go address the defense. And I also happen to think cornerbacks, once they peak, they regress. I don't think they're as good once they peak. Jackson, to me, has had his peak. You know, he had a great year, a lot of ball skills. Like I said, he's still not a shutdown guy where you can just go say, all right, go over there and take away their number one receiver, and I don't hear from him all game, Stephon Diggs and people like that. So with that being said, a guy that has a great year is obviously going to come back to earth. I'd expect that. And with that being said, on top of all the other things, I think the Patriots should focus elsewhere and let Jackson do his thing.
It's KJ and Dondero on WEEI. Get in the conversation, 617-779-7937. The text line, if you're just starting your day, you got to do errands and you can't call, that's okay. Send us a text. We'll comment on that, 37937. Next, in the vein of coming to America, which free agent wide receivers would be willing to come to the Patriots? It's time to trend. Hit it, Justin.
The home for Patriots fans.
Now, here's what's trending on WEEI.
Trending now on WEEI and WEEI.com, the Celtics defeated the Detroit Pistons 113-104 yesterday afternoon as they advanced to 36-26 on the season. That's now 7 straight road wins by 9 or more points for the Celtics. They'll look to continue their road winning streak tonight as they take on the Indiana Pacers. Tip-off is set for 5 o'clock. The Bruins notched their 3rd straight win last night in San Jose over the Sharks. 2 goals from Brad Marchand in that one. The Bruins are back on the ice tomorrow to take on the Kings in L.A. Puck drop is set for 10:30. And the New England Revolution kicked off their 2022 campaign last night in Portland against the Timbers. The match ended in a 2-2 draw. The Reds will now return home as they get set for the 2022 home opener this coming Saturday. That's what's trending now on WEI and WEI.com. More of KJ and Dondero coming up next.
You're listening to KJ and Dondero on Boston Sports Original, WEEI.
I want to be back close to home in New England in the offseason, and just because we obviously have our place there, and just figuring out ways to become a better quarterback and then do whatever we can to put more points up on the board so we can win more games.
KJ and Dondero on WEEI. Thank you for starting your Sunday morning with us. 617-779-7937. The text line 37937. That's Mac Jones talking about sticking around here in Massachusetts during the offseason to get himself better. Here in a couple of minutes, we'll play Coming to the Patriots in the vein of Coming to America. Right now, Kelly and Amherst, thank you for calling KJ and Dondero. You're on the air.
Hey, guys. So, we're talking about this J.C. Jackson situation. We've been talking about this for a while here on the station. And I got to say, I think if you really break it down, at the end of the day, the story is J.C. Jackson is stressed out. And it's like, I get it that we're thinking, well, if he's stressed out, that means this and that means that, and the Patriots are doing that. I also get there's not a lot of other things going on. So you know what I mean? I'm not saying we shouldn't talk about it, but I'll put it to you like this. J.C. Jackson was an
As
undrafted
Kelly just
free
spent 30
agent.
seconds talking about it. Go ahead.
I know, right? Well, that's what you're hearing. J.C. Jackson was an undrafted free agent, if I'm correct. I'm going to go psychological on you and say this. He is still emotionally and mentally acting like an undrafted free agent. He has no reason to be crying and complaining. All he needs to do is relax and get his money. We should all be relaxing, too. That's all I got.
All right, Kelly, thanks for the call.
I don't understand his point. He should relax.
Well, because the first 30 seconds, right.
mean?
I guess maybe we should play some relaxing music. I don't have any Zen music, but, I guess palms up so that way you can receive the energy from the universe. I mean, maybe, I don't know what it is, but look, if you're undrafted, there's no structure in terms of like what your next contract should be. So that's understandable, right? If you're undrafted, like you come in at an expectation number of 0. That's your number if you're undrafted. So
but what was his point though? I mean, relax.
Don't do it.
They got to make a decision. He's got to find out what he wants to do. He's got to go into free agency. I mean, things are happening.
I think what Kelly needs to know in the overview of reshaping the Patriots defense, J.C. Jackson is the center story, right? If there's no J.C. Jackson, then maybe there's some form of rebuild. If there is a J.C. Jackson signing and you don't franchise tag him, then you say, okay, this is going to be the starting piece of other things that come down the line. Maybe that's the best way I could do it in a picture book form. Maybe.
I mean, sure. Fine.
So Mac has decided to stay in Foxborough in the offseason, which is really good. I don't think that's such surprising news.
No, that's what he should do.
Right.
He works.
Well, again, when you're a rookie and then you have a changing coordinator or whoever's going to be helping you with the plays and so forth, you've got to stick around. You can't be like, well, just call me. I'll be in Florida, So, but Mac is showing leadership that people said they see, and his teammates like Lawrence Guy say, look, this guy is on top of it when it comes to being a general on the field and in the locker room.
He came in with that leadership. You saw it in the season, you see it in the locker room. He's a great person. He's building that brotherhood, and that's what you want to see in a young player. Someone that's building that brotherhood, and that can take all those burdens on his back, and that's what he's doing. When we're up high, we're good. When we're down low, he's still there, and that's what you want to see in a young player.
Yeah, Mark, my only concern is for any rookie quarterback when you're changing language and conversation and how to explain something and receiving information and giving back responses, that when you change that person who was there last year, you have to allow for some area of adjustment. And a bit of my concern is Joe Judge being a question mark. handling a full team. Special teams, yes, but there's a big difference between handling special teams and handling the quarterback of the team. Is there kind of a cushion that would allow for a bit of regression or stagnation on Mac this season?
Are you saying from my perspective?
Well, that's why we're here. That's why we're here to discuss it. Yeah, what do you think?
The correct answer is yes. My answer is no, because I think if Mac Jones is good enough, I don't really think it should matter who's calling the plays. I think the Patriots offense and the culture that Mac Jones sets should be productive. Whether or not it's Joe Judge, Josh McDaniels, Matt Patricia, Bill Belichick, Brian Belichick, if Jones is good enough, he should be able, especially with a year now in the system and some structure in place, whether or not Josh McDaniels is still there. I still think Jones, with an additional piece or two that he could maybe throw to, should produce and progress in the direction we want to see.
I believe that there is probably a closer relationship between Josh McDaniels and Mac Jones than probably we even understand. And I think you may see some of those effects, because imagine if Mac's season starts slow, then it's a continuation of kind of how things started to go down the hill towards the end of last season, and a new looking version of the beginning of last season. And I don't think there's really that type of room for error if you're talking about a team whose goal is to get to the playoffs again. Do you beat the Bills for the AFC East again? I don't think that's necessarily in the potion. But if you figured out that, hey, we didn't win our division and still got to the playoffs, we should be improving on that. There's no room for error. Like, would it not be stepping backwards if this Patriots team next year does not make the playoffs?
That would be stepping backwards, yeah.
Right, and so with a tougher schedule than you had last year, coming off of a 7-9 year previously, now you have a playoff-type schedule. Like, Kyler Murray is going to feel it in Arizona when he steps into his schedule this year. Your schedule's a little tougher than it was the year before. And the same thing with the Patriots. It's going to be a tougher schedule. The games early on, outside of Miami first week, which is standard, but probably games 2, 3, and 4 are going to be very tough games where you say, hey, these are games that Mac and this team should be winning, and definitely can't come out of those games 500. And if they come out 500 or below, 1-3, 2-2, there's going to be some concerns. I would be concerned. I think it goes back to the changing. Yeah, I mean, Josh McDaniels is going to leave. He's going to leave. But at the same time, you're like, okay, will the questions start to come up of like, hey, what is Joe Judge doing? You know how it is here.
Yeah.
Like, are they not connecting? Was there better closer? And that's a little bit of my concern, is we won't know how that relationship flushes out until real games.
Yeah, and you know what else? This is interesting now that I'm thinking. It is a developing opinion. But we talked a lot this year about Mac Jones and comparing him to Tom Brady in 2001 and the similarities between the two teams, the Patriots this year and the Patriots in 2001 when Brady took over. And we were all kind of, we had reservations as to how apt and how applicable those comparisons would be. But now I'm thinking about it, and I'm wondering, and you'd have to go really kind of into the numbers and into the stats and break it all down. But I'm wondering if it will be applicable to compare Brady in 01, Jones in 21, and then Brady in 02 and Jones in 22. Because Brady in 02, again, you'd have to really go in depth and break it down. The Patriots took a step back that year. I don't know, did Brady take a big step back that year? Stats-wise, how he played. I'd have to go back and look real quick. Just on the surface level here. I'm not going to obviously watch the film.
Well, I can kind of give you the summation of it. I think Mac Jones is a better comp to Matt Ryan right now. Closer to the modern game. Mac Jones is throwing more passes than Brady was in those early years, right?
Yeah, no, that might be a good point.
Right. So, again, it all depends on what you have and how the game is structured. The game is a lot faster. It's more pass-dependent than it was 20 years ago. So, Mac Jones, I can see like, hey, look, if we have a Matt Ryan on our hands, then all you have to do is say, okay, make sure you put the weapons in and don't have Kyle Shanahan anywhere on the staff. But at the same time, you would say, okay, that's something you could live with, knowing that Matt Ryan is a very, very good quarterback. So if Mac Jones becomes a very, very good quarterback, then I've always said it's not fair to compare him to Brady, because I don't think this Mac Jones we're going to see is going to suddenly become the Tom Brady that was averaging 300 yards in passing a game, where he fully mastered the offense. It didn't matter who his weapons were. He can make anybody look great. I don't think that's Mac Jones, but Mac Jones could be a Matt Ryan where you say, hey, with the right coaching, you could win a championship with this guy. KJ, go ahead.
Ryan did take a step forward in year 2 and then took a big step forward in year 3. Julio Jones didn't arrive until year 4.
Right.
And that's when he took, that's obviously when his numbers went to a different level. But I still think Jones there shouldn't be a regression. Do you understand me? There should not be a regression. If he does take a little step forward or he's around what he was last year, you can live with that. A regression, that spells doom and disaster.
All right, it's KJ and Dondero on WEEI, 617-779-7937. The text line is 37937. Jerry Jeudy is a teammate at Alabama and now with the Broncos says, look, Mac is truly deserving of a number 1 receiver.
Do you think he needs a true number 1 on the outside to help him get to where he wants to be?
I mean, I feel like every quarterback in the league should have that, at least that one guy they feel comfortable going at and getting the ball to. So, of course, I feel like he got great receivers over there, though. I feel like he got good receivers over there. But probably in the media eyes, they probably not good enough, probably because of stats and stuff like that. But other than that, when I be watching, I be feeling like they got good receivers.
Yeah, you did notice he went from great to good.
Look,
it's your eyes too, Jerry. They're not great, they're good. And so in terms of a number 1 wide receiver, I don't think there's one in the draft, but I do think there's some free agents out there, Mark. Are you ready to play coming to the Patriots?
Yeah, but why wouldn't you say there's one in the draft? How do you know? There could be one in the draft. I bet there is one.
Not at 21.
You never know. Why not? A.J. Brown was in the second round. Samuel was a second rounder, wasn't he?
Yeah, but no.
Now, if you're saying Bill Belichick, will he be able to identify that guy and draft him in the second round? No, probably not. But that guy could be out there.
Then no. Right. I mean, the guy could be out there, but this team is beyond could. It needs to know. And so that's why I think if you're going to get Mac a number 1 receiver, we have to find out which free agents, wide receivers, are willing to come to the Patriots. Hit it, Justin.
Did you happen to catch the professional football contest on television last night?
I am very happy to be here.
Hey, can you receive? 'Cause they need some help on the Patriots. Hey, can you see a receiver coming to the Patriots? All right, Mark, here's some names. They're free agents and available now. I want your thought. Do they come to the Patriots or do the Patriots make a move for them? Yes or no? So I'll start with Allen Robinson. This guy was at the top of everybody's list last year, but, he got franchise tagged by Chicago. Man only had 38 receptions, $17.8 million. Coming to the Patriots?
No. I think he's going to be too expensive, and I just don't think he's a guy that they're going to go after. I don't like it. No.
I cannot believe it.
I'm with you, Mark. All right. Chris Godwin. This is everybody salivating over him. I know this is who Brian Barrett has pictures of on his wall coming to the Patriots. 98 receptions, torn ACL at the end of the season. 15-9 was his franchise number last year. He's going to be looking for a payday. Do you go into the pockets for him?
Yes, and I think the Patriots might do this. Why? Because obviously he can play. He's versatile. He can do a bunch of different things. He's coming off the injury, not good, but maybe you get him at a little lower of a price. And why would you not consider him when you think he played with Tom Brady? He was successful with Tom Brady. And that system is what Tom Brady knows. That system is what they implemented down in Tampa. So why would you think he wouldn't be able to come up here in a similar scenario, similar system, and produce? I think it makes sense. He's the level of talent you need. I say yes, the Patriots go after and get Chris Godwin.
I say no, because he can get more money elsewhere and compete for a Super Bowl better with some other teams. Teams will be willing to move assets around if they could get Chris Godwin. I just don't think the Patriots are high enough up on his pecking order to come here. I don't believe it.
I cannot believe it.
Happy birthday, Chris Godwin, by the way.
There you go. Look at that producer, Justin, even knowing this little stuff, right? Devontae Adams. Can we just already say no because we know he's going to be franchise tagged? We agree?
Yeah, no, that's not going to happen. It would be too fun and too awesome. No.
Yeah, he's not going to.
I cannot believe it.
Jamison Crowder, excellent slot receiver, 51 receptions last year with the Jets, and you're wondering, like, wow, they completed 51 passes last year? $10 million price tag. Do you see Jamison Crowder as a potential get as a slot receiver to help Mac Jones with some of those small and intermediate routes?
Oh, yeah. It screams like a deal the Patriots would do. I don't think it necessarily would take them to the next level. I'd be okay with it. I think that is a yes, though.
It's a yes for me, too. What? We agree?
Yes! Yes!
T.Y. Hilton will be 33, will almost be 33 coming up on the season. Only 23 receptions, $8 million last year in money, 331 yards. You can hear the excitement in my voice. That's a no for me.
That's a yes for me. I'd be doing it if I'm yes.
You want Mohamed Sanu too?
No. This is a different type of game than Mohamed
Part
Sanu.
two?
And depending on what you could get him for, you have a veteran presence out on the outside that could maybe show some of these guys a thing or two and just give you another guy. I mean, I'd rather have T.Y. Hilton out there than N'Keal Harry.
But that's not fair, but I say no to T.Y. Hilton.
I say yes.
Oh, what is this, a push now? We don't have a push sounder, Mark.
Sorry.
So I'll tell you why. So give me the no to T.Y. Hilton because I got a real yes that's on the table.
I cannot believe it.
Why not just go get Juju Smith-Schuster? Less money than T.Y. Hilton, 7 years younger, came back for the playoffs for Ben, even though he had hurt himself at the beginning of the season, played 5 games. You still have meat on that bone, and you don't have to depend on him being a 1A, a 1 receiver. He could be an excellent 1A or can be a 1 on this team based on what's there right now. Juju Smith-Schuster?
Yes! Yes!
Mark?
Look, I say yes, but I have reservations just because I don't think he's the same receiver when he's not playing off of a number 1. But, again, the Patriots can use any help they can get at that position. So I say yes, if that's the guy that you're able to get, bring him in and see what he can do. Yes.
Just to give him another yes.
Yes!
Yes! Emmanuel Sanders, 35 years old, became like a lost man in the whole Bills structure. Came there to be their third option. Ended up becoming like the 5th or 6th. $6 million last year, 42 receptions. I'm sorry, just the age and the declining productivity is a no for me.
I cannot believe it.
Mark?
It's a no for me. The Patriots, they missed the boat with Emmanuel Sanders. They had a chance. What was it, 2013?
Yeah, a few years ago.
They signed him to an offer sheet. That was the time to get Emmanuel Sanders. Could have used him. Didn't happen. No, not at this point, no.
All right.
I cannot believe it.
Sammy Watkins, Baltimore. You know, he came off of a knee injury when he left Kansas City. Took the 1 year to go to Baltimore. 27 receptions, $5 million. I don't know if there's any tread left on the tire. Sammy Watkins is a no for me.
You know what? Sammy Watkins is a no for me, and I'm with you. I don't, for whatever reason, it just feels like there's no tread left on the tire. I'm out on Sammy Watkins.
I cannot believe it.
And how about Mike Williams, Los Angeles Chargers? Listen to these numbers. 76 receptions, 1,100 yards, 9 touchdowns, $4.9 million last year. Do you make a play?
Yes. Yes. I would take this guy. I would love to have this guy. I don't think, is he a number 1 receiver? I don't think so.
I think he is because if you look at where Keenan Allen is, clearly he's a 1, but he's a declining 1. And what Mike Williams can do with his size inside the red zone, which is still kind of an issue for the Patriots. I think like 70 or 80% of their touchdowns were runs inside of from inside the red zone. So if you can get a guy who can just snatch down a ball from 18 yards out, nice little fade because Mac's got the accuracy. We're both in yes on Mike Williams. He
Definitely
could be a number 1.
Oh, yeah, and I'll even if he's not a number 1, like I said, I'm not convinced. I would happily bring him in here to find out because I like his game, and I think that he could offer a big something to Mac Jones in this offense.
Yes! Yes!
And that is free agent wide receivers coming to the Patriots. Aren't you glad that wasn't done to Soul Glow? Let your soul go. Just let your soul glow. Or
yes,
Sexual
I'm very,
Chocolate.
Very glad.
Justin, have you ever seen Coming to America?
I haven't. No, I haven't.
Wow. So that just shows you how some things are part of cultural pantheon and now there are new things being developed.
So here's what I've learned, kind of being with you here. I haven't listened to any real music before the 1980s. I haven't watched any real movies before the 1990s. So that's why I'm trying to get caught up here.
But you know, you're not gonna walk me into the get off of my lawn, because that's not the guy that I am.
Good,
right?
Thank you.
Like for example, like Beavis and Butthead is one of my favorite shows. Justin, have you ever seen Beavis and Butthead?
Now that one I do know.
Okay, see, so some things do have touch points to the younger generation. So there are things that exist. You're trying to paint me as some old man. Like, what do you think? We're gonna play Buddy Holly as our next bumper music? You know?
Jeez.
Well, actually, not the song Buddy Holly, which would be something that Justin would know, right?
Weezer?
No.
I don't know.
Yeah, there you go. Very good.
All right.
See, if I know Weezer and know Buddy Holly, that's called living life.
All right. I respect that.
That's
But some
all you
things I
can
just
do.
don't give a rip about. So whatever.
Oh, yeah. Like, I could do that, right?
I admit there's movies that I haven't seen that I need to see. I admit that, all right?
Have you seen Office Space? Oh, my God.
No.
I've never heard of that one.
No.
You've never? Oh, my God.
I'm more of a music guy.
You guys know who Jennifer Aniston is, right?
Yes. Are you kidding me?
Oh, wait, she's in Office Space.
I don't know.
Oh, my God. It's KJ and Dondero. 617-779-7937. That's how you reach us by phone. Text line is 37937. Next, we talk Major League Baseball lockout. There's only 1 day left, allegedly. Next, here on WEEI.
KJ and Dondero on WEEI.
Boston's sports original.
Yeah. KJ and Dondero, WEEI, Boston Sports Original. Thank you so much for starting your Sunday morning with us. 617-779-7937, 37937. Still to come, the Celtics, the hottest team in the NBA, and maybe on their way to the NBA Finals. That's still to come. Plus, this whole debate about Fenway suddenly having this eternal life when that wasn't the case at one point. Let's go to Eddie in New Hampshire. Thanks for calling KJ and Dondero. You're on the air.
Hey, good morning, gentlemen.
You, man.
What's up, Eddie?
Hey, yes. So if we, franchise a certain player, right, and then your money transfers somewhere else and you can't spend it somewhere else, right? So that's just a J.C. Jackson thing, right?
I have no idea what you're asking.
I can't figure it out.
If he franchised J.C. Jackson, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right, it's a lot of money up front.
North of $17 million.
Right. More than I think he would actually take.
Unless they do a incentive-laden thing where that $8, $10, $12, $14 million signing bonus.
I get what he's saying. Yep.
Right. You can push that for 2 years, right?
Yeah.
This is kind of like the Celtics right now. What do? We could sign him. Right now, we could sign somebody like Damian Lillard or something just to fit into the mix, right? Or Kevin Durant, right? You could sign that. It costs you a ton of salary cap money, but you could still do it. We're just not doing it.
Yeah, Eddie, thanks for the call.
You need to ask yourself.
Go regroup, Eddie. Go regroup.
No, I understand what he's saying. He's saying, look, if J.C. Jackson gets franchised and his money comes in at 17 just for the franchise tag, but if you go to him and say, we'll give you 5 years, 16 mil, and make you a top five corner paid in the league, well, then it's cheaper than the franchise tag. And, of course, the rest of that money gets kicked down. You can spread the signing bonus across because the Patriots cap now is 202, and next year it drops down to 108. So you have plenty of room to play with moving that money down the road. So that's why I would say, why not sign him to his deal now, where he's probably willing to take less money than the franchise tag would get him this year, but give him his money knowing that he has a future. That's why I say when you come in as an unrestricted free agent, your number is a 0 versus, say, Xavier Howard in Miami, where he's a first rounder. So things have to factor in when you negotiate his, if you want to do the extension and stuff like that. So that's the benefit that the team has. And it's just like, make a statement and go ahead and sign him.
Yeah, if they're going to re-sign him, I would like it to be a long-term deal. I think the franchise tag at this point is absolutely useless. That's too much money You're not going anywhere with just him on the roster, and that's a lot of money to spend on just that one player for that position in this circumstance. So I don't like that. But I see what you're saying. If you wanted to spread it out, Eddie's talking about Kevin Durant. What? Like, he's not available. Like, you can't do that.
Maybe you pushed him into that deep end of the pool. Maybe you did a little bit. It could be intimidating calling a radio station.
Okay. I just that was a situation. I think. Yes, Jackson, if they're going to sign him, do that, but I don't think they're going to sign him. I think they're thinking, like I am, where it's, hey, he had a great run and stretch here, and we're appreciative, but based on the financial commitment we'd have to make, we don't think you're worth it at this time, and I think they're going to let him go.
All right, it's KJ and Dondero here on WEEI 617-779-7937. Join the conversation. Have yourself a cup of tea, a cup of Joe. Call us up. Leave a text. We'll say hello to you. In fact, let's go to the text line right now, 37937. What do you have, Justin?
This one from the 413. Most people seem out on Juju, but I really think him, Bourne, and Myers are more than a serviceable squad. What do you guys think?
Yes. I think Juju Smith-Schuster, you might find out that he's not a one, but at least when teams have to game plan, they would have to treat him as such.
Yeah, I'm with you. And the other question I would ask is, does Jonnu Smith do anything next year? If he is at all useful, that becomes an even better situation. But once again, I would still go back to saying, even if you have Smith-Schuster and who you just said, Bourne and Myers, what did we talk about with all the teams left in the playoffs in the Final Four, Final Eight this year? Number one receivers, unequivocal number one guys. Who's the unequivocal number one in that group there?
Yeah, but possibly that trio right there could win you a playoff game. I think it's a piece-by-piece thing. To say that the Patriots are ready to be an AFC championship caliber team next year, I think we'd be fooling ourselves and a lot of people.
Yeah, I think then you're just trying. That would help. It'd be better. But then you're just trying to do what you did last year. And, a lot of B guys at receiver. You get back the number one corner maybe, and then you try to do that. It's too similar to last year. I need an ace, a flash, a big-time presence. I don't think just bringing in Smith-Schuster is good enough. I think that helps, but I don't think it helps enough to change the narrative and to get this team to where they want to go.
All right, Justin, one more quick text, and then we got to get to Major League Baseball. Go ahead.
From the 603, the Patriots need a good pass rush, and then you don't need to worry about a cornerback. Don't give the quarterback time, and you don't have to worry about cover so long. So bye-bye, J.C. Jackson.
Well, I say hello, J.C. Jackson, and trade that 21st pick, next year's first-round pick, swap 80 and 85 pick this year, and call Houston. You'd have a direct line to them. We want your number 3 pick. We'll give you Jalen Mills, too, because you can't stop the ball in the air. And we'll take that number 3 pick, and we'll take David Ojabo from Michigan.
I'd love Ojabo. I think, I'm with the texter. Go if you're going to go defense, go on the defensive line. Try to get pressure. Try to get Judon and Barmore, another friend down there, really wreak havoc along the line and do that. I just think they are not the type of team that needs to prioritize the top cornerback. Don't do it.
All right. Well, we won't be able to play the drop, but okay. Major League Baseball has allegedly a day to get things together before the season doesn't start on time. Do you think the season starts on time?
No chance. Nope. I have no faith in that. I have no faith in the leadership. I have no faith in their process. And, I've lost faith in, spring training's gone. I think opening day was a stretch even before we got to this point. No way it starts on time.
Yeah, I don't think it starts on time either. But, they did meet in some kind of good faith I guess they had lunch together yesterday.
They're meeting.
They're meeting. That's good. But, people who are getting divorced have meetings too. So, it's an interesting it's interesting time for baseball right now. We'll continue the conversation regarding the comments that about Fenway having like a longer shelf life suddenly. But I understand those comments. That's next here on KJ and Dondero, the second hour here on WEEI.